Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to welcome you to the 2020 Masters Tournament, not only to all of you here in person, but also to those of you joining us virtually. Thank you for being here. For those of you who were not here on Monday to hear our announcement honoring Lee Elder, my name is Fred Ridley, and I serve as chairman of Augusta National Golf Club and the Masters Tournament. With me are two of my good friends and fellow members who play important roles in the conduct of the tournament. First, to my right is Jim Hyler, chairman of the competition committees. And to my left is Tom Nelson, acting chairman of the media committee this week. Before I begin, today is Veterans Day. And on this occasion, I want to take a moment to pay tribute to the men and women affiliated with our nation's military, past and present. On behalf of all the members and employees of Augusta National, we thank these patriots for their sacrifice and service. Each year at this press conference, we discuss our commitment to continuous improvement, the cornerstone of our mission as an organization. Also central to that mission is promoting the development and virtues of the game of golf and contributing to our community. In 2020, the effects of a global pandemic and the important issues in our country regarding racial equality have dictated that our perspective regarding these important responsibilities take on new meaning. COVID-19 has been a health crisis unlike the world has faced in our lifetimes. It has compelled us to reaffirm our commitment to do more for our neighbors here in Augusta. Since the onset of this crisis, we have given more than $2 million in partnership with the Community Foundation for the Central Savannah River area to fund increased testing at Augusta University and to support those in need through the Community Foundation's COVID-19 Emergency Response Fund. Of similar importance is the unrest that we have witnessed throughout our country and the conversations regarding race, equality, and opportunity that continue. Although we strive to meet our duty and obligation to give back to the community that has given us so much, the past 6 months prompted us to reflect and ask ourselves the question, what more can we do to move our city forward? So with that challenge before us today, I am honored to announce another commitment to our community of Augusta, a community that has supported the Masters Tournament for more than 80 years, a community from whom our very name emanates. First, I would like to provide you some background. It would draw your attention to the video screens on each side of the room. The map on the video screens shows the Harrisburg and Laney Walker neighborhoods. These historic areas of Augusta are less than 1 mile away from Augusta National and just west of downtown. What once were thriving communities, Harrisburg and Laney Walker have experienced decades of disinvestment, poverty, crime, and unemployment. Recently, the Medical College of Georgia Foundation embarked on a substantial redevelopment of this noteworthy portion of Augusta's urban core. As part of its vision, the MCG Foundation recognized a unique opportunity to work with the Community Foundation and the Boys and Girls Club to develop 2 critically needed facilities in this area. First, an innovative community center will be built that provides services and programming that simply do not exist today. This will enhance the outreach of several important nonprofits and will include, among other services, access to quality health care, a center for literacy, teaching reading and writing from preschool to adult, support through mentoring and future workforce development, and food and nutrition resources. In addition, A new headquarters will be constructed for the Boys and Girls Club here in Augusta. This facility will create much-needed space to serve and collaborate with other organizations that serve the youth throughout the city. This is exciting progress to report, and we want to do our part to help make this vision a reality. This morning, I'm pleased to announce that Augusta National and our partners at AT&T, Bank of America, and IBM are making a combined $10 million gift for this transformational project. Each organization's $2.5 million contribution will provide the majority of funding needed for this first step in the journey to uplift these underserved communities and, importantly, to promote generational change and the opportunity for economic mobility all Americans deserve. This shared belief with our partners will attract even greater development and investment designed to benefit the residents of the Harrisburg and Laney Walker neighborhoods, all of which can help build bridges out of poverty and make Augusta, Georgia, an even better place to live. We would like to again thank our partners, AT&T, Bank of America, and IBM, for their generous support, which will be foundational to better educational and economic outcomes for those who call these neighborhoods home. And as our excitement for this initiative grows, please know we cannot wait to find other meaningful ways to support our community. Since the postponement of the Masters in March, we took the following months to plan for a tournament that would welcome a full complement of patrons to the city of Augusta. By August, however, it became clear that despite extensive planning and a resolve to safely stage a tournament with at least a limited number of patrons, the realities of the situation made it clear that our hope was simply not the right course of action. We realized this decision impacted our friends and neighbors in Augusta, but the health and well-being of everyone involved took priority. We have done our very best to create a safe environment that allows for the Masters to take place successfully, albeit differently than anyone would have imagined. We could not have done this without the support of so many people. I'm especially proud of the team effort by everyone at Augusta National, who worked very hard to make this week possible. In addition, we are very grateful for our friends in the world of golf, whose collaboration and support were invaluable in moving our sport forward. We also would like to thank CBS, the NFL, and the Southeastern Conference, whose cooperation made possible a network telecast of the final two rounds of the Masters for the entire nation to enjoy. Along with missing our loyal patrons, unfortunately, we had to cancel the par 3 contest and reschedule two very important events played the week before the Masters: the Drive, Chip, and Putt National Finals and the Augusta National Women's Amateur, staged for the best women amateurs in the world. In its inaugural year, this event not only wrote a new chapter in our history, but also through skill and sportsmanship, Jennifer Kupcho and Maria Fassi reminded us of one of golf's greatest lessons: the fiercest of competitors can still be the best of friends. We look forward to holding both of these exciting competitions and welcoming next April all those who have qualified. We promise it will be worth the wait. Not knowing what to expect following the exciting conclusion of our women's event, the 2019 Masters featured one of the most compelling conclusions in the tournament's history. We were treated to one of the most dramatic and inspirational final rounds ever witnessed at the Masters: Tiger Woods winning his 5th green jacket. I know it meant a lot to Tiger to hug his beautiful children, Sam and Charlie, more than 2 decades after embracing his parents in the same exact spot. It was a day and a moment all who love the game will treasure forever. And we certainly are excited that Tiger will finally have the opportunity to defend his title after a wait of 19 months. The tournament this week will showcase a field of 92 players from 23 countries, 6 of whom are amateurs, and 26 first-time participants. We recognize the impact this year has had to everyone in their schedules, and we are grateful for all who are here to compete. As we have announced, the cut on Friday will include the top 50 players in the field plus ties. The course, as it stands today, is just as we had hoped for this time of year. Our exceptional staff has again done everything in their power to exceed the high expectations which have become their standard. And while there will be fewer people here on the grounds, our viewers at home will get an unprecedented and glorious look at Augusta National. Thanks to our friends at CBS Sport, we will debut a few technologies new to Augusta National, including a fly cam along the 16th hole and 2 drones providing sweeping aerial views never before seen during live Masters telecasts. A change to come is the news of Lance Barrow's last year as coordinating producer for CBS. On behalf of our membership and everyone associated with the Masters, I want to thank Lance for his decades of commitment to the tournament and broadcast. We can congratulate Lance and CBS for receiving Emmys for their work here in 2019, both for Outstanding Technical Team Remote and Outstanding Live Sports Special. We are very proud of our long-standing relationship with CBS, who will broadcast the tournament for the 65th consecutive year this week. On the topic of television, we are very excited to welcome ESPN's College Game Day to Augusta National this Saturday. This will provide additional excitement for college football and golf fans alike and affords us a unique opportunity to expose our sport to an audience that may be seeing the Masters for the very first time. And I have to say, I can't wait to hear our friends on the College Game Day set recap the Florida Gators' convincing win this last Saturday over the Georgia Bulldogs. I apologize to my Georgia friends, but I just had to say that. On the digital front, we are happy to inform you and golf fans everywhere that we will build upon our Emmy-winning every shot, every hole technology that debuted at last year's tournament. New for 2020, and with the help of our partners at CBS and IBM, we will unveil the My Group feature beginning Thursday on Masters.com and on the official Masters app. With My Group, our online fans will create their own personalized featured group. This customized feed will allow them to see every shot from their favorite players, plus updates from the leaders on the course and must-see shots from the field, all delivered in near real time. Finally, I want to mention what is certainly a bittersweet moment in the history of Augusta National. After 13 years, I should say 31 years, our senior director of the Masters tournament, Buzzy Johnson, has announced he will retire at the end of this year. We will take more time to celebrate Buzzy's enormous contributions after this week, but we already anticipate how much we will miss his guiding presence. Beyond the responsibilities of his one true job title, Buzzy has provided exceptional oversight of every aspect of the tournament we witnessed today. And he has done that at all times with a focus on constant improvement, innovation, and excellence. Buzzy is an embodiment of our values. He is a thoughtful, wise, and above all, a loyal leader who supported 5 chairmen and who was a mentor to all those on our staff who served by his side. Above all else, Buzzy is and will continue to be a friend of our membership and to the entire game of golf. On a personal note, Buzzy, I want to thank you. I want to thank you for your friendship, your support, and your guidance, particularly during the time not only that I've been a member of this club, but during the 11 years I served as competition committee chair. I would like to think we are a good team, Buzzy, but I'm certain that I'm a better person for having had the experience to work so closely with you. I know our founders would be so proud of you and what you have done over the past 3 decades to take their creation to unimaginable heights. Thank you, my friend. So with that, I would like to thank everyone for being here today again. And Tom, I'm ready to take a few questions.
Great.
Tom,
Thank you.
you were over there on Monday. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Questions? Brad?
Thank you, Mr. Nelson. Mr. Chairman, first of all, what a wonderful tribute to Buzzy Johnson. Love that guy. My question to you is, first of all, pandemic related. What sort of protocols has Augusta National implemented to make sure the players and everybody else on the property are safe and healthy? And on a personal note, how has this week impacted you? It's typically a big week for you and your family.
Let me try to answer those in order. You know, our first responsibility is to, is to do everything we could to protect our family, our Augusta National family here, and that started many, many months ago, as did the planning for the tournament. As to the virus itself, we have tried to implement appropriate protocols using the consultation of a number of people, both private health organizations, local, state, and federal government, and they've been extremely helpful to us. Specifically, as all of you've experienced, having been tested, we are testing everyone on grounds. In some cases, multiple times during the week. That's been a protocol that we have implemented not only for the tournament this week or even the club opening in October, but dating back to the summer when we started to have people come back to work here on the property. We do daily health screening, temperature checks. We have a requirement regarding face coverings whenever you're indoors, other than active eating meals. We've also had a good communication and signage program. And of course, social distancing, which everybody's doing. And then with respect to the tournament, although we don't have a lot of people here, that we've thought about capacity management and different gatherings. We've certainly done that with our members when they've been here. So I think we've implemented protocols that I think most would agree are standard and appropriate in the circumstances, and we couldn't have done it without the help of a lot of people.
Doug?
And you also asked me about my family, and that's something that I can tell you I've heard a lot about from back in Tampa when I had to advise my 3 daughters, who were great lovers of this game and this tournament, that they were going to have to stay at home this week. But I can assure you that they will be active on social media. They really keep me up to date on what's going on in social media, and I'll be watching every second on our telecast.
Doug?
Think about functions and operations that have to change, and be curious what you're going to do on Sunday in presenting the green jacket, whether that's anything going on in Butler Cabin on the 18th green. How will you handle that, and how will it be different?
Well, we won't have the putting green ceremony, but because that primarily, Doug, of course, is for the people who are here in person. We do think Butler Cabin is something that is really not only a part of the history, but emblematic of what the Masters is all about. Giving the champion the green jacket, and so we will be in Butler Cabin. We may be seeing, or our viewers may be seeing, a part of that room that they haven't seen before, because we're going to be more spread out. But we'll have the same people in the cabin with the same basic ceremony. But I think we can do it appropriately.
Ron?
Thank you. Could you take us through the process that led you from the postponement to landing on this week, and how you came to be here and how much interaction you may have had with the other organizations in sort of reassembling the golf schedule and golf calendar this year?
Sure, Ron. I guess what I would say is that the situation with the COVID-19 pandemic certainly had gained our attention several weeks before the actual decision in March to postpone the tournament. One thing when I think back that strikes me is really how fast events moved in the few days leading up to the decision we made. It was almost a convergence of the entire circumstance at one time. I mean, we had other organizations who were making decisions. I believe the NHL or the NBA perhaps decided to cancel their season or postpone their season that same week. But we made our decision independently with the advice of people whose consultation we had sought. It was during the week of the Players' Championship. And I remember coming to the club that week. The thought was that, we might have to be in a position within the following week, the next 6 or 7 days to make a decision. But it became pretty evident very quickly that things were moving much more rapidly than that. And so, we had made a decision that we were very comfortable with. We had hoped that we could have the tournament later in the year, and here we are. So we did not cancel it. But as it relates to the other golf organizations, I would say shortly after we made our decision, the PGA Tour made its decision, and other golf organizations around the world did the same. There was really just a great coming together of those organizations to talk about what the possibilities were. There certainly was not only collaboration, but there was a lot of give and take and compromises. Anytime you have a tough issue, compromise is the way you get to a resolution. But I think what was really heartening about the whole thing is that the organizations really worked together in the best interest of the sport. And I think, we came up with a pretty good result.
Sam?
I'm interested in the crow's nest and the tradition of the crow's nest. Your thoughts on that and any memories you might have about staying there as an amateur?
Sure. Gosh, I really have to dig deep because that was a long time ago. I remember coming to the club. I came to the club the week, I think 10 days before the tournament. And I figured I'd never been to Augusta National. And I have to tell you, and it's interesting, my visual of what the approach to the club was going to be was this winding road sort of up a hill in the country. I'd seen the telecast, many times as a young guy, but I was really somewhat taken aback when I was riding down Washington Road and looking at the various restaurants, and it really looked like any city USA. And then all of a sudden you come upon Magnolia Lane. But I have to say that the majesty of that moment is something I'll never forget. I remember I sent a letter to our members the day I became chairman and commented that when I drove down Magnolia Lane that day, it had no less effect on me than it did that first day in 1976. But I did stay. I played 3 times, 76 through 8. I stayed in the crow's nest that first year and maybe part of the time the second year. And I was up there with Curtis Strange and I think Keith Fergus maybe and a couple other guys. And, I probably shouldn't say this, but I do remember there's a window in the crow's nest that actually was operable at that time. And it went out onto the roof. And Curtis and I went out and sat on the roof, watched the world go by. Now, can you imagine that happening today? But those are my memories of the crow's nest.
Adam?
Fred, 19 months ago, you sat there and you conceded that the momentous decision that Bobby Jones talked about at 13 really no longer existed. And you said, though, that you didn't feel that there would be ever the need for a Masters golf ball. But listening to some of the players, how they plan to attack this course, calling it a par 68 for them, seeing players carry drives 400 yards and a player hit only 2 fairways at the US Open and shoot 65. How concerned are you about distance right now in the game and the future of Augusta National?
Well, I think just sort of a broad statement, the golf course, other than a few, and I think that few is becoming a larger group of people, but it does play along for most of the players. It still does, particularly this time of year, where we have more active Bermuda grass that hasn't gone dormant yet. But as to the larger issue, I've been reluctant thus far to make any major changes regarding adding distance to the golf course. I think sometimes when you do that, I think there are unintended consequences that come out of that. The scale and the scope of the hole, it changes when you add distance. It changes more than just adding distance. The look of the hole changes. And so, and the design philosophy of the hole changes. And that's something that we've always, and I've always been very focused on is maintaining the design philosophy of McKenzie and Jones. Having said that, I think we are at a crossroads as it relates to this issue. We have always been very supportive of the governing bodies. We will continue to be supportive. We think that it's good that the game of golf is governed by the USGA and the R&A. We think they're great stewards of the game. But I'm hopeful that with the work and the studies that have been ongoing for some time, and I understand that in April there's to be some sort of publication of their conclusions. I do think that we're coming closer to a call to action. And all I can say is that as it relates to our golf course, we have options and we will take the necessary action to make sure we stay relevant. But as it relates to the 13th hole, I totally agree with you. It still provides a lot of drama, but its challenge is being diminished. And, we don't think that's good for the Masters. We don't think it's good for the game. But the issue is a lot larger than Augusta National and the Masters. We have options, as I said. We can do things. We can make changes, but not every golf course can. Having said that, it's a balance because, the next question is obviously, or should be, well, but you don't want to make the game harder. So, on the one hand, we're saying we want to grow the game. On the other hand, we're saying we're worried about distance. So I think everybody's just got to get their head together and figure it out.
Changes as early as this coming April?
This April, I can say no to that because, our season is underway and we would not make any changes in that time period. Beyond that, I wouldn't speculate.
Steve?
A couple divergent questions, if I could. First, the charitable work that you announced today kind of brought to mind what they were doing up the road at Eastlake, and I don't know if you have taken any inspiration from what's happened there, and if going forward you are planning to have that sort of impact on a community.
Well, I can tell you Eastlake certainly is a model and is an inspiration, to not only to us but others that have undertaken sort of the redevelopment of underserved areas. I think I would be might be somewhat pretentious for me to say that we're going to follow Eastlake because of what they've accomplished over many years and the commitment of Tom Cousins and the Eastlake Community Foundation to that project. But that's certainly, I would say they're certainly a role model. We think that the opportunity at Harrisburg and Laney Walker this is just the tip of the iceberg, what we and AT&T, Bank of America, and IBM are doing. And what we're doing really is just a catalyst to the underlying hard work that's already been done by many other nonprofits in the area, most particularly the Medical College of Georgia Foundation, Augusta University. We're getting on this train now, but there's been a lot of work that has preceded us. But we're in for the long term. And we're hopeful in April and beyond that we can continue to talk about this and make announcements as to more progress to really transform this community. It really could be generational for this city.
And secondly, I was wondering what extraordinary measures you might have had to take to get this place to play in November as it does in April, and how close do you think it will be, the competition and the conditions will be that what players face now as they would have in April?
I didn't even understand that question.
How different it'll be in April versus November? How much effort it required to get it ready in November?
Okay. Well, I think that the effort, there's never been more effort put into putting on the tournament than this week. I mean, there are a lot of issues patron-wise that sort of went away, but I think those were more than replaced by the issues regarding, COVID protocols, et cetera. I mean, if you look at the various functions, take security, for example. While we may have fewer security personnel, what we call inside the bamboo on the golf course, just because of fewer people, the perimeter of the golf course still has, the full attention of our security efforts, with GBI, with Richmond County, with the city of Augusta. And so from that perspective, really, the work really wasn't diminished. Looking on to April, I'm hopeful that we will see improved conditions regarding this virus, but April is less than 5 months away, so there's certainly no assurance of that. But I do think that I'm encouraged by what took place last week in Houston, having I think approximately 2,000 fans at that tournament. We'd be interested to see kind of how that went. But I think, we made this decision based on the best available information we had at that time. And of course, with so much that goes on to putting on a major sporting event, there has to be a pretty significant lead time. And while I don't know exactly when that decision is going to be made, we'll have to give it some lead time for April. So we're just going to make the decision based on the best information possible. But we do have hopes that the tournament in April will be closer to normal than it is right now.
Christine?
Thank you. Thanks, Tom. Fred, you've, of course, described over the last Monday and then today as well, honoring Lee Elder, of course, helping your neighbors, as you've described here today. We've discussed the issue of women members a few times over the years. I'm curious, why do you think Augusta National didn't do all of this sooner?
Christine, it's kind of hard for me to answer that question. I think one of the things I said on Monday is that, we've really tried hard over the last 15 or 20 years to do the right thing, whether it's with regard to our membership profile, of course, that goes back 30 years, or whether it's regard to growing the game, the efforts that we've done with respect to junior golf, with respect to women's golf, with respect to golf in Asia, with respect to golf in Latin America, with respect to supporting the First Tee. All of those things I think have been the right thing to do. And I hope you will agree that having attended a number of these press conferences, we typically have new things to talk about. And we expect that will continue. I'm confident that will continue. And so with regard to all of those initiatives, I think I've said before that, sometimes they're successful immediately. Sometimes it takes time. I mean, for example, in Asia, and we've seen this progression there as well as Latin America, where they've been on a similar progression curve in that after 5 or 6 years, we see more and more players showing up in the top 100 of the rankings. If you look at, Matsuyama and Joaquin Niemann, who regrettably is not here this week, but we start to see objective sort of indicia of success. And so we always ask our question, I wish we'd done that earlier. And I think that's always a question we should ask, because hopefully it spurs us to think more creatively for the future. But, you know, all I would say is that we do look back to kind of learn from what we could have done better or perhaps sooner, but I'm looking ahead. And there are going to be more things to come, and I hope all of you will recognize that and just, you know, understand that we're doing the absolute best we can.
Fred, right over here.
Hey, Bob.
Hey, I wanted to follow a little more specifically on your comments about April and perhaps getting, you know, people back on the grounds to watch. What do you think you would need to see, just from a national standpoint with the virus, whether it be vaccine, better testing? And could there even be the potential that you would test people before they would come in? Was that even something considered for now, for November?
Well, I think the broad answer to that question is that we would need to see objective data that would give us a high level of confidence that we could bring large numbers of people onto the grounds for April. You know, you've identified a couple of things I think that are very relevant. I mean, you know, I think the vaccine, I don't want to get into medical prognostications, but, you know, just logically as a layperson, a vaccine, while it'll be wonderful when it happens, there's going to be ramp up time. There are all kinds of issues that are probably point to beyond April as to being, you know, the silver bullet, if you will. I think as it relates to testing, there's some real opportunities there. And you know, our staff has been exploring those very deeply. And we have a number of people who are very interested in helping us. And so I think that's something that we'll really be looking hard at as that capability already has developed, but as it continues to develop, that would certainly be a wonderful circumstance if we could test large numbers of people.
Are you surprised? Obviously, you were the last one back in April, 7 months ago, when the date was determined. Back then, would you have thought we would have been at that point already to be able to have, even if it wasn't the full house, but limited numbers? You know, I'm just wondering maybe what your own disappointment level is in that.
You know, innovation and ingenuity is a great thing. And you know, I started to say American ingenuity, but it's a lot more than that. I mean, around the world, you know, the scientific community has made such great strides beyond, I think, what all of our imaginations were. And so, you know, I have great confidence that those achievements will continue. I mean, I think it's just unbelievable that, you know, I mean, it seems like it's been a lifetime. I think all of us would agree. But just 8 months after this really became, you know, top of mind to everyone, you know, we're on the verge perhaps of having a vaccine. And these rapid tests that are just incredible innovations. So I'm very optimistic.
Right, just two more questions. Laura?
Mr. Chairman, with the investment in the Harrisburg community, you mentioned this is the tip of the iceberg. What ongoing involvement does the club plan to have with that project?
Well, you know, we will continue to have an interest in our investment and I think certainly subsequent investments. We're going to count on others in the community, the foundations I mentioned, to sort of run the day-to-day operations. But our interest and our input will continue. This particular phase is just the first phase, but it is the phase that I think unlocks the potential of this entire community. And I think what I'm hopeful is it's going to bring this opportunity to the attention of others. And we've always said that, you know, we are very happy to lead an initiative or to follow the lead of others. You know, we're just trying to get something done that is for the good of the game, or in this case, the good of the community. So I think the real potential of this of this opportunity is in the area of a multi-$100 million investment. Now, that's going to require participation by the federal government, and we have made applications for choice neighborhood grants, which requires a number of preconditions. So those take time. Those are in sort of the out months from here, but they're not that far away. And so our intention would be we view this as just a catalyst for future opportunities, but it's really exciting. And I think it's something that we're going to be able to talk about not just in April, but the following April and the one after that.
And David, last question.
Yes, sir, Mr. Ridley. Can you give us a little background on the change in the cut? Was it because 65 players made the cut last year, or the lack of daylight this year, or is it a permanent? Would it ever change again?
Well, that was a decision that we made for the April Masters, this past April Masters. And it's not something we did just for this week, although it could be nice or could come in handy as it relates to darkness. I think that, really two reasons. We thought that it was a reliable way to sort of better predict what our weekend field was going to be. But the other thing is we look back at the statistics, and in the last few years or in the last several years, I think we've only had 2 players who have been in contention who made the cut only because of the 10-shot rule. In other words, they were not used to be top 40, or they weren't in the top 40, but they were in the 10-shot rule. So, while certainly, it can happen, but it just doesn't, it's not relevant that often. And so we thought this was a way to sort of tighten things up and have a more predictable field size for the weekend.
Great. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Have a great Masters week.
Thanks, everybody.